If you're a photographer, by the end of this video, you'll learn three things that you should learn from a writer. Let's get started. The way writer crafts a story is very different than a photographer. Though storytelling is the same, but what we want to do is look into the intricacies of a writer. A writer will slowly lead you into the situation. For example, a writer will say something like, once upon a time in a place so and then you're leading getting into the story. Now, this is just an opening para. But if you look into the story and look into the verses, you will see that they cover one element, then they go to the next element, then they go to the next element. This thing is equivalent to layering in photography. One thing is to just take a subject. For example, I am the subject in this frame and there is nothing else that can add value. There are additional elements though, but there is nothing else as such. But what if we frame the photos? And this could be the worst idea in the world, but why not think about it? You can frame a picture by adding layers that are actually hierarchical or sequential in the way the story is building. So for example, if you want to capture a kid who has to clean the streets because his family does not have the money. So one thing is the way photographers usually go is the kid will be the subject, maybe in the middle of the frame or on the rule of thirds. And in the back, there will be his mother, okay, who is basically in the other rule of third in the background in a little blur. And then you paint a scenario. But what if you reverse it? And this time you're taking a picture from his house inside. So you are first of all showing elements, then overlapping or behind those elements are other elements that are supporting the story, building from the inside, okay? And then you basically create a leading line leading to the subject. This can happen the way we see in stories. So for example, there was a kid who used to live in so and so place in an area where the facilities were not amazing, and then you showed it. Then you showed the elements overlapping and that he has a family. This was the place they used to live. And what he is doing, he is cleaning the streets because he does not have money. So one way is to be straightforward, subject, then something on the rule of thirds and you click an image. But if you think like a writer, okay, the way you place the elements is going to create a lot of sense. And one way to do it, even though the most hated way, I guess, is the golden ratio. But if you place elements on the golden ratio, on the golden spiral as you go along, that can give you a new idea to work with. And that is all the intention with this video is, okay? We are not trying for something that is perfect. We're just exploring ideas of what we can do more than what we are already doing. Second point, if you have ever read any book, okay, the writer will usually have a signature. For example, in Urdu, they have names that they call themselves by, okay, and every single poet, every single writer will have a flow that they go with, okay. So for example, Allama Iqbal in Urdu, he'll be talking something on the levels of Islam or on the levels of the country. Mirza Ghalib will talk something else. Mir Taqi Mir will talk something else. Ahmed Faraz will say something else. Same way. Robert Frost, his signature is different. When you think of Robert Frost, you think of a totally different person than when you compare it to Shakespeare. If we focus on one thing, and how did they develop this thing? There are certain words, there are certain styles that they have basically taken the ownership of. And we find this in filmmaking also. For example, if you look at Christopher Nolan, your mind goes into thinking that he creates mind-bending movies, okay? Wes Anderson, you think about vibrance. Quentin Tarantino, you think about the mixing of genres and something that comes with, that electrifying sense of telling a story. If I'm not wrong, if I'm using the words correctly. Same way, how do you actually use this in photography? Let's just say, for example, you take an element that I'll shoot eyes in more detail and then you capture that instance. I know a photographer who has a signature of stillness in each and every one of her photos. And that is something that amazes me. Every single photo that you look at is amazingly still. Now, I don't know if she uses very high shutter speed to do that, or maybe she's very composed when she takes the picture, or she goes into a particular posture where it is, stiff and she's taking a picture so the camera doesn't move. But you can see that stillness itself in her frames as well. And if all of us pick one thing, for example, I just pick up motion blur, you just pick up frames, somebody picks up leading lines, and then we try to tell the story through it, we might actually be on the way of creating our own signature. That is just an idea. And I think that is good. Okay. So if this helps you, I hope it helps you. Okay. Please subscribe, please like, please comment, please share. I know this is cliche, but it actually gives you a lot of motivation other than the channel growing. So please do that. And let's move on to the third point. Talking about focusing on one thing. There is this one thing that writers do that photographers do actually, but not that much. The thing is, when we are shooting, we move around a lot and we take a quick pace. What that does is distracts us or keeps us from paying attention to details. So if you ever read a book, or if a writer is describing a person, it will be way more detailed than we actually see. So for example, a writer will say that the wrinkles under the eyes was saying so and so story, or the color was this, or the way they folded made him think of a certain situation, a certain person, a certain fabric, a certain flower, a certain texture. Just pay attention to the attention that the writer is paying. Now, when we are developing stories, I'm not saying that this will go in every frame, because you will definitely have wide angle shots and you will have telephoto shots from far away. But while we are shooting a photo essay, if we go into the details, the mundane details that while shooting we actually don't pay attention to, and when we come back home and we are putting a piece together, maybe a carousel post for Instagram together, you will see those specific details might, and I think they will give you so much juice from a particular subject, from a particular object, from a particular location, that will just tie and anchor everything around the story, because they are giving you intimacy more than anything. A very, very, very detailed close-up look. And this does not have to be with a macro lens. It just has to be with your eyes and your sense of observation that you're putting into it. I hope you like the video, and if you like this video, I think you'll like the video about what photographers can learn from painters. The link is right here. Thank you so much.